Building the world. For games, world building not only means building levels with tile maps and sprites, but actually refers to having an underlying list of reasons as to why your levels look that way. You see, I'm in the midst of developing a top-down pixel art game where you have to explore spooky rooms, retrieve items and talk to different characters. I want players to have the chance to be a detective and kind of piece together parts of the story for themselves by paying attention to their environment. I'm doing this first by making each room function so that it's fun to navigate as the player. Then I start to think about how each room could have feasibly come to look like that by referring to the story. Take this room for example. The purpose of it is to talk to some NPCs who will give you quests and you can possibly retrieve this bit of cheese. When thinking about the design, I first add some blocks to break up the room and make it a bit more interesting to navigate. Then I look at the story. It's set in a pet store where the owners are seemingly nowhere to be found and the animals have taken over, so things should be a bit messy and unorganised. This dog dude, NPC's deal is that to survive he's begun hoarding food in his own little corner. So these shelves should be stacked as well with stuff he's taken, and maybe more items have been collected in these bags. Also, he's eating the stuff he's collecting, so it's all messy around him. The history of the other rooms in the game won't be so obvious, but it's good to have an idea of this to make the world of the game cohesive. I'm sure as I go along making more levels and areas, I'll find myself coming back and refining or changing details here and there to hint at ideas presented later to reward the player for exploring. Since I'm the one doing all of the art in the game, I need to find ways to make design and set dressing of the levels as quick as possible. The fact that the game is using a pixel art style has helped with this a lot. There's this great website LowSpec that has pixel art palettes and is a good jumping off point. Then I have a series of mood boards I'm working from. These don't have pixel art in them, they're just for inspiration. I just have an idea of what I want to draw in mind and try and translate that to pixel art. I'm relying on tile sets I've drawn to block out the different areas, then I'm sprinkling different sprites on top to break things up. I've been building a library of more generic sprites like buckets, bin bags and different objects to go on the shelves. I'm trying to keep the story spoiler free as much as possible, so I won't say too much for now, but I've been typing away recently, roughly outlining the story for each level and beginning the process of writing dialogue for each character. One thing that these characters might need are items, so I'm beginning to code in the system for this as well. Like for that piece of cheese I mentioned earlier. When you detect NPCs, to be able to talk to them, you have to be within a certain vicinity. But now I have another smaller vicinity area detection for items. There's a lot of other stuff in the level now, so to recognise whether something is an item you can pick up, it will have this little outline that appears. To get that working, I had to dive into shaders, which I'm kind of new to. Essentially though, I can expose a parameter in the outline shader which controls the opacity of the outline. Using a shader is really useful as I won't have to draw an outline for each item. The shader can figure out that for me procedurally. I can use a lerp to ramp up the opacity of the outline when the player is within the vicinity of the item. I'm thinking to maybe have the same thing happen when your torch runs over the item as well. For now I just have a dictionary of items that the player has in code, but the next course of action will be to look at creating an inventory so you can browse through what you have collected. Bye for now.